The current generation of Formula One cars is nearing the end of its life cycle, but they still have not resolved the crucial question: do technical risks lead to success, or do they backfire? Experts agree that taking risks will be essential, but only if the negative consequences can be effectively managed. Red Bull, for example, has encountered difficulties in this area. With 24 races packed into a 10-month period, it is clear that a versatile, all-around car is no longer sufficient, especially as the performance gaps between teams continue to shrink. McLaren has openly stated that its strategy for evolving in the 2025 Formula One Championship will require taking risks, a sentiment that echoes Red Bull's approach from the previous year, though not everyone, including Adrian Newey, fully endorsed their methods. Meanwhile, Scuderia Ferrari is preparing to unveil Project 677, which promises a complete overhaul of their car, with 99% of the components being redesigned, as confirmed by Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur last year. While one might expect a radically new car, it is important to understand that this does not necessarily mean a dramatic change in its outward appearance. In truth, the Italian side's car for the 2025 Formula One season will not be completely transformed aesthetically, but rather, key areas such as the floor and the cockpit will likely undergo significant revisions. We can anticipate a new single-seater that will push the limits of what is visible, with more subtle modifications in the less noticeable components. For instance, the floor design for 2025 had already reached a more advanced stage in November compared to the experimental version used at the end of the previous season. The results from wind tunnel testing have validated this shift, particularly in configurations that emphasize high downforce. Looking ahead to the 2025 Formula One Championship, it is clear that the season presents a tremendous opportunity for those teams that can start off strong. However, embarking on a major redesign of the mechanical platform might require a period of adaptation to fully unlock the potential observed in the wind tunnel simulations. The combination of front suspension and aerodynamics in these cars plays a pivotal role in shaping airflow and overall vehicle performance. This relationship is becoming more critical than ever, as the cars of this generation are reaching new levels of sensitivity. Aerodynamicists are operating in a delicate balance, as small changes can have outsized effects. Shifting to a pull rod suspension geometry, for example, brings with it notable aerodynamic benefits, and this solution has already shown success in other teams' designs. While it may seem like a coincidence, Red Bull and McLaren are the only teams to have secured championships in recent seasons, and both of these teams embrace this approach from the outset of the current regulations. Under Enrico Cardil's leadership, Ferrari's F-175 car came close to adopting this setup, but ultimately chose a more conservative path. While the decision was defended by the Maranello technicians and engineers, it did somewhat limit the potential of the front axle design, where achieving significant performance gains proved more challenging than in other areas. Following a complete overhaul of the car's aerodynamic concept, Ferrari's new model was 95% different from its 2023 predecessor. As team principal Frédéric Vasseur revealed during the Christmas lunch, the car's evolution is set to go even further. Thanks to an aerodynamic package introduced at the Imola circuit, the SF-24 performed well in the early part of the 2024 Formula One season, demonstrating good consistency due to its tire-friendly nature. However, the Maranello team's failure at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona underscored that the mechanical setup, particularly the front suspension, was no longer capable of supporting the overall aerodynamic platform effectively, hindering the car's performance potential. The 2025 project offers a considerable development advantage compared to where it stood last winter, giving Ferrari a unique edge as they advance. Despite facing stringent regulations and the limitations imposed by the cost cap, aerodynamics have become more crucial than ever before. This shift in priorities has led to a significant redistribution of technical responsibilities within the team, placing more influence in the hands of those capable of thinking outside the box. Following James Key's departure, McLaren technical director Peter Prodromou assumed a more direct role in the decision-making process, while Rob Marshall was still in the process of becoming fully integrated into the team. Similarly, Ferrari's head of aerodynamics, Diego Tondi, gained more authority after Enrico Cardil's departure, and he has taken the reins in steering the team towards rapid changes. One of his earliest decisions was to test the inverted pull rod suspension in the wind tunnel, a step that paid off. After a detailed comparison, the team saw positive results with this new geometry, and the findings allowed for a shift in focus towards other aspects of the car's design. This led to revisions in the bodywork, with changes like repositioning and tapering the side pods and reworking the underfloor flows towards the diffuser in a more aggressive fashion. While the SF-24 demonstrated some strong points, traction was a noticeable weakness, especially as temperatures fluctuated throughout the season. Ultimately, the car's performance in this regard failed to meet the engineers' expectations, highlighting the need for a new rear suspension, which is now being developed. Additionally, Ferrari is working on refining the range of available wings, aiming to achieve higher efficiency in their aerodynamics. For the upcoming Formula One season, there will not be any significant limitations placed on the flexibility of the wings, which is not surprising. If restrictions were anticipated, the team would not have introduced a new front wing specification at the end of the previous season, one that will continue to evolve following the development approach initiated at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin. The key question for Ferrari in 2025 is how competitive they will be, and much of that depends on the strength of their rivals. The goal, however, is clear. Ferrari aims to improve by 1/10 of a second each month, while minimizing errors along the way, with progress beyond what would be expected from one iteration of the car to the next. If the performance data holds up on track, engineers predict that the setbacks suffered at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, where 2 months of progress were effectively stalled, should be overcome, bringing the Maranello team closer to bridging the gap with the leading competitors in the 2025 Formula One Championship. Lewis Hamilton's arrival at Ferrari has captured widespread attention on the eve of a season that promises numerous stories. It will be a year filled with several changes and new faces, such as Adrian Newey's move to Aston Martin or Kimi Antonelli's debut with Mercedes. But at the same time, it will be rich in events that go beyond the outcome of a championship that promises to be fiercely contested. 2025 is shaping up to be a year of new chapters, significant changes, and nostalgic conclusions. The media frenzy surrounding Lewis Hamilton's signing somewhat overshadows the magnitude of the changes taking place at Maranello. Under Frédéric Vasseur, Ferrari is opening its doors, strengthening the team with new figures from both outside and abroad, while also granting greater freedom of expression to internal resources. The result is a cultural renewal that is reflected in both the approach to design and the characteristics of the car. There are many reasons why Ferrari has been without a world championship since 2008. One of these is the recurring traits in Ferrari cars over the past decade, with flashes of notable competitiveness, especially in qualifying and in the 90-degree corners of street circuits, but without the necessary consistency throughout the season. These behaviors are indicative of a narrow operational window and a lack of stability in high-speed corners on traditional tracks. The SF-24 marked the beginning of a revolution, introducing a concept that was more competitive in race conditions than in qualifying, and by the end of the year, it became a platform for experiments to improve the car's stability in cornering for the next model. Ferrari is questioning everything, and 2025 could be the season of renewal, shaking up the design philosophy that has characterized the last decade at Maranello.